What's up, Marks? Quentin Reese here to kick off a brand new season on the channel. I'm so excited. If you're new here, this show is called What a Week! The show where I, the world's best dressed wrestling fan, keep you up to date on everything that's happening across WWE's weekly TV shows. And holy shit, in all the years that I've been doing this might be the most insane week I've ever seen. The week after WrestleMania has always been a great jumping on point for new fans of WWE. Last season's storylines have been wrapped up, new ones are kicked off, the rosters get shaken up, and programming is usually pretty accessible in the hopes of hanging on to whatever new or casual viewers pop their heads in for Mania. But there's never been a week after Mania like this one before, because this past Monday, the morning after Mania weekend, news broke that WWE owner and real-life piece of human garbage Vince McMahon was selling the company to a larger conglomerate, Endeavor, who also owns UFC. Now, details of the sale haven't been made public yet, and the deal will take months to go through, but by the time Monday Night Raw started that night, the dirt sheets were already reporting that Endeavor had mandated that McMahon step down from WWE's day-to-day operations immediately, probably on account of all those decades of well-documented bullying of employees, sexual harassment and assault allegations, and general psychotic behavior. Everyone's known about this stuff for years, but it was assumed that we'd have to wait for the crazy bastard to die before he ever let his hands off the wheel. Apparently, Endeavor's offer was too good to pass up, and starting this Monday, Vince is fucking out. He's all the way out. Bye, bitch. So, naturally, the first thing that happened on Raw this Monday was Paul Levesque, aka 14-time world champion Triple H and the company's chief content officer, stepping out into the ring to address the WWE universe and explain the implications of this change in management. But as optimistic as I was that ousting Vince and installing Trips in his place would lead to an overhaul of the creative product, I was truly unprepared for how drastic and immediate that overhaul would be. I mean, some of these ideas must have been in the works for weeks, maybe even months before the deal was announced, without even a whisper getting out to the press. That's a feat in itself. As always, I would love to play you a clip from the promo, but WWE is a very litigious company, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Instead, please enjoy my best Triple H impression.
You know, we use the phrase, a new era, a lot in this business. Tonight, I'm here to tell you that there are only two eras in the history of professional wrestling. There's then, and there's now.
There was some really, really big news dropped into the meat of this promo, but just for the moment, let's jump to the end, because this line fucking rules.
Starting tonight, the WWE has been changed forever. But I promise you this, the rules may have changed, but the game is eternal.
Chills, bro. Seriously, how great is it to see Trips back out there doing what he does best on the biggest stage that there is? I mean, just over a year ago, this guy was hospitalized with a life-threatening heart condition, during which his psycho father-in-law thought it would be cool to go in and completely change his TV show. Triple H's heart condition means that he will really seriously never wrestle again, but that doesn't seem to bother him. For a while, it seemed like what's really important to him is putting over the next generation of wrestlers, and I get the feeling that's what this new era is going to be all about. We got our first taste of the new status quo immediately, when United States champion Austin Theory took to the ring hot off his victory over John Cena on WrestleMania Saturday. And he really ground that win into the fans' faces, claiming that he's the new John Cena and mocking Cena's old catchphrase, "The champ is here!" Still, there's a little bit of sincere admiration mixed into this heel promo. After all, we know that Theory in real life is a longtime fan of Big Match John, and he announced that he was so confident in his dominance that for one night only, he would be reviving Cena's United States Open Challenge, offering an immediate title opportunity to anyone in the locker room who thought they could take him. Now, this felt like a pretty obvious tee-up for a big new signing debut, or an NXT call-up, or return from injury. Like, my money was on either Bray Wyatt or Braun Breaker. But I lost my fucking mind when I saw who the challenger was, and so did every one of the diehard marks in the arena for the Raw after Mania. The music hits, and it's Jade fucking Cargill walking out to her AEW theme music, wearing her AEW TBS championship. What the fuck? From the pop she got from the crowd, it sounds like everybody in the building knew who Jade Cargill was, but you know I love to throw treats out to the filthy casuals out there, so here's the basics. Jade Cargill is a homegrown talent from rival promotion All Elite Wrestling, probably their hottest homegrown prospect ever. She's been the talk of the wrestling world since her debut in 2020. She's big, she's stunning, she's got incredible presence, and hey, she can wrestle too. AEW has booked her like an absolute champ, and she's undefeated so far on television. It's no secret that she's had the WWE in her sights and that the feeling was very much mutual, but her contract with AEW isn't set to expire until this fall. Nobody, and I mean nobody, expected to see her show up on Raw tonight, let alone wearing another company's belt. Like, commentary mentions that she wrestles for AEW, and they talk about how long she's held the title, and they don't bury the company, like, even a little bit. So the whole thing's so bizarre that it takes me, like, a full minute to remember that, like, hey, she's a woman. If you're new on the block, intergender wrestling has been a big no-go at WWE for, well, basically forever, with a few notable exceptions. But when Jade Cargill answers Austin Theory's challenge, the only person who seems to object to her being there is Austin himself. Jade is strutting down the ramp, flexing her ridiculous biceps, commentary is putting her over hard, and Austin is in the ring incredulously arguing with the ref that
she doesn't even go here.
But the ref just waves her through and calls for the bell, and Jade fucking goes off. Honestly, I was liable to name this my match of the week just for its historical significance, but it also fucking rocked. Jade got to impress with some big Hoss offense while Austin collected himself, then he rebounded and got all his shit in, and the two of them worked pretty stiff, man. Like, you think that maybe they were trying to prove a point with this. But there's also a lot of story beats in the match. Like, there's a point near the finish where Austin has Jade backed into the corner and he screams into her face, "You don't belong here!" And we get this terrific close-up of her face, and she's got like the eye of the tiger. She rallies, hits him with her finisher, Jaded, which is this sweet wheelbarrow facebuster. 1, 2, 3, new champion. History is made, terrific crowd response. What a way to kick off a new era. This match left people with a lot of questions that wouldn't get answered until later in the week. First and foremost being, like, does Jade Cargill still work at AEW? Yes. This is definitely a collaborative thing between the two promotions. AEW posted about it on Monday night, and then on Friday night, Jade appeared on AEW Rampage carrying both titles. This kind of thing isn't totally unprecedented. Like, Mickie James showed up in the Royal Rumble this past January wearing the Impact Women's Championship, and that was a sanctioned cross-promotional thing. But Mickie James has a long history with WWE, and also she didn't, like, win the Rumble. So that's pretty crazy. We're still waiting on clarification about a lot of this stuff, so make sure to smash that subscribe button so you get notified whenever I inevitably make a video about it. Jesus Christ, we're 10 minutes in and we've only covered the first half hour of Raw. Okay, so ever since Roman Reigns won Raw's WWE Championship from Brock Lesnar and unified it with SmackDown's WWE Universal Championship last WrestleMania, Raw has been without a World Championship. Traditionally, when this happens, the company just invents a new World Championship, but one of them never feels as important, and it usually gets treated as a second-rate title until it's inevitably merged back into the old one. This time around, they're trying something different, which might even be a more permanent solution. Rather than introducing a new World Championship, Raw and SmackDown are each getting a new men's title that's specific to its show, the way the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships are. These are textually second-tier titles, floating somewhere between the One World Championship and the US and Intercontinental Championships. However, they are stepping stones to a world title shot. Winning your show's championship automatically entitles you to a world title opportunity in the future. Is that also going to be true for the NXT title? We don't know. Stay tuned. Anyway, this month on Raw and SmackDown, a bunch of qualifying rounds are being held to determine who will compete to be crowned the first Raw and SmackDown champions at the PLE they're now calling Night of Champions in San Juan, Puerto Rico on May 6th. Then, presumably, one of them will get a crack at Roman Reigns at the next PLE. Roman's new belt, the WWE Undisputed World Heavyweight Championship, what a mouthful, was unveiled last night on Friday Night SmackDown. It's big, it's gold, I love it, more on that later. So, there were 2 triple threat qualifying matches for the Raw Championship this week. The first one was at the end of the second hour between AJ Styles, Omos, and Damian Priest. Fun match, not a lot to talk about. I don't think anyone was all that surprised to see AJ Styles get the win. He'll move on to the next round. The other was the main event, a much more interesting match that got a lot more build-up over the course of the night. This one was between Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, and Bobby Lashley. Cody Rhodes, of course, is still reeling from his loss to Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania Sunday. Cody would be the world champion right now if it wasn't for the treachery of Roman and the Bloodline. but he hasn't given up on being the one to dethrone the tribal chief. He's just had the fight of his life. He's got a bruised rib from that cheap shot from Solo Sikoa, but he refuses to take the night off. He says, "This isn't the end of my story. It's just the intermission." Seth Rollins, on the other hand, is coming off a win over Logan Paul on night one. He says Cody's had his chance, and it's time for him to sit down and make way for the guy who's been carrying the Raw brand for a decade. He's also the only man in years to have a win over Roman Reigns, even though it was a win via disqualification. Looks like Seth is sort of working a tweener position here. He's prodding at Cody, who's the top babyface, but he's also, not wrong. He's just kind of an asshole. I still love you, buddy. And finally, there's Bobby Lashley, who was WWE champion 2 years ago, but who didn't even have a match this WrestleMania. He won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal last Friday, but otherwise is fresh as a daisy, and he's mad about it. He's tired of being overlooked, and he's here to put the hurt on anyone who ignores him. What he's saying also makes a lot of sense, but the promo had a heel energy to it, so it looks like they may have turned Lashley again. Cody and Seth spend almost the entire match focused on each other, thinking they're the main characters, and this allows Bobby Lashley to stay fresh and choose his spots very carefully. He lets them wear each other down before pulling off a surprise win, pinning the injured Cody and advancing to the next round of qualifying matches. This looks like it's also going to set up a longer feud between Cody and Seth. We'll see what happens next week. The rest of this week's Raw wasn't super eventful, and there's so much other shit to get through, so here come the Cliff Notes. Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair is on the lookout for a new challenge, someone who, in her words, will force her to elevate her game. Accepting her challenge is Hall of Famer Trish Stratus, who appears to be sticking around for a bit after her WrestleMania angle with Becky Lynch and Lita. No match this week, just a stare down teasing a future confrontation. Speaking of Becky and Lita, the women's tag team champions take a bow in the ring, but are confronted by Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, who won the women's tag team showcase on WrestleMania Sunday. They stake their claim as the logical number one contenders to the women's tag team titles, and as much as Becky and Lita are prepared to defend those titles right here on Raw General Manager Adam Pearce sees dollar signs and makes the match for Night of Champions. Meanwhile, the winners of the men's tag team showcase, the Street Profits, declare their intentions to challenge the undisputed tag team champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on that Friday's SmackDown. Is it just me, or are there a weird number of face versus face matches right now? It's too early to say, but if this becomes a pattern, I think I may have found my first big problem with the new era. Okay, normally we cover NXT in the same video as the main roster, but there's so much going on right now on Raw and SmackDown. NXT doesn't seem to have anything to do with it directly, so I'm going to punt that to another video. We will get to it, but for now, let's jump ahead to Friday Night SmackDown. As I mentioned earlier, this episode opened with undisputed champion Roman Reigns coming out with his bloodline entourage and bragging about retaining his title against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Roman was able to defeat Cody thanks to the assistance of his cousins Solo Sikoa and Jimmy and Jey Uso, but that doesn't mean that Roman's not still pissed about the Usos losing the undisputed tag team championship to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Roman expressed his disappointment in his usual quiet, intense, disappointed, abusive dad voice, but told Jimmy and Jey that they can redeem themselves by capturing the Raw and SmackDown singles championships, respectively, which would not only cement the Bloodline's dominance in WWE, but prevent anyone else from winning the titles and earning automatic world championship opportunities that come with them. Roman used his influence to assure that Jey would be included in one of that night's SmackDown Championship qualifying matches, and that Jimmy will get a crack at the Raw Championship next Monday. Roman makes it clear that they're to do whatever it takes to win. The first of those qualifiers pit the acrobatic babyface Ricochet against much larger heels Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal, both former world champions. Jinder is pretty much an also-ran here. I don't think even Mahal's own mother wants to see him hold a major single title again. But Ricochet ends up eating a pin from Drew, who advances to the next round. I really hope they come up with something for Ricochet to do soon. He's one of my personal favorites, and he's been pretty aimless of late, especially as a singles competitor. Newly minted SmackDown Women's Champion Rhea Ripley takes a victory lap with her nefarious faction, the Judgment Day. A lot of folks here on YouTube have been calling Rhea's WrestleMania title match against Charlotte Flair the match of the weekend, and damn, it was really fucking good, and she deserves this spotlight. Rhea is absolutely on fire right now. She's the coolest heel on the Western Hemisphere, and she's elevating her whole stable. A pretty wild thing to say considering the Judgment Day also includes Finn Balor. It's also fucking wild that Rhea can be the kind of heel that gets cheers for everything she does, while her in-ring boyfriend Dominic Mysterio cements himself as one of the most loathed little weasels in the business. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So what's next for the Eradicator? Seems like the line to challenge her title reign starts with Liv Morgan.
Yes!
If you don't know the story here, let QR talk to you. Until recently, Liv Morgan was one of those wrestlers who was always just around but was never a huge deal. She came up through NXT like a decade ago, she's a good worker, and she's got the kind of charisma that has kept her in the good graces of fans even after years as a mid-carder who never wins any important matches. Last year, Liv was thrown into a tag team with Rhea Ripley ahead of WrestleMania and made fast friends. Maybe more than friends, but that's just WWE sort of winking and teasing the way they do. When they failed to capture the tag titles with Sasha Banks and Naomi, Rhea attacked Liv and went back to pursuing her career in singles wrestling, a pursuit that led her to joining the Judgment Day. The rest is history. Liv also got some momentum out of this feud, though with less success. She got what turned out to be a pretty half-hearted push, winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and cashing in to defeat SmackDown Women's Champion Ronda Rousey on the same night, then losing the title back to Rousey about 100 days later. Then, this January, Liv Morgan was the number 2 entrant in the Women's Royal Rumble match. She and the number 1 entrant made history by outlasting the next 28 women in the gauntlet. She was there when the bell rang to start the match, and she was the last wrestler eliminated. And who was it who eliminated her, costing her a title match at WrestleMania? None other than the match's number 1 entrant, Rhea Ripley. In the months since, Liv has been tagging with Raquel Rodriguez, who was standing beside her when she challenged Ripley on Friday. Now, here's the thing. While Liv and Rhea became rivals recently, Rhea and Raquel have years of history. Back during their time in NXT, they were roommates, tag team partners, and best friends. They even have matching tattoos on their fingers that read R&R. Then, in 2020, Raquel turned on Rhea. They had a vicious personal feud that concluded with a last woman standing match at New Year's Evil. Raquel was the winner, and Rhea was sent packing, debuting on the main roster a few weeks later. Their paths wouldn't cross again until this year's Royal Rumble, when Rodriguez was eliminated by, you guessed it, Rhea Ripley. Rhea made sure to use this opportunity to fill Liv in on their history, and to ask Liv if she really knows who she's tagging with. As to whether she'll grant a title match to Liv, she said she'd tell her next week. Rather than waste the trip to the ring, Liv and Raquel then had a tag match against the new team of Xia Li and Aaliyah. Rhea stuck around on commentary for the match, pointing out that Raquel and Aaliyah used to be tag partners too, and now Raquel has no problem stepping over her to succeed. Speaking of tag team action, as promised, Street Profits got their title match against Sami and Kevin, which was another babyface versus babyface match. Fuck it, this was a really good one. They went almost 20 minutes, and on any other episode, this really could have been the main event of the evening. Sami and Kevin retained, but Street Profits end up looking like rock stars. The actual main event was the second qualifying match for the SmackDown Men's Championship between Braun Strowman, Shinsuke Nakamura, and representing the Bloodline, Jey Uso. Braun and Shinsuke are both great performers, and it's really cool to see these 3 very different styles of wrestling collide in the ring, but let's be serious, this match is all about the ongoing Bloodline drama. The Usos have been ordered to win the Raw and SmackDown championships by any means, and Jey is more than holding his own against these 2 former world champions. It looks like he might actually be able to win the match clean, but the Bloodline isn't willing to take that chance, because late in the match, Solo Sikoa comes out and takes advantage of the triple threat match's no disqualifications rule. Solo takes on Braun and lays him out with a steel chair outside the ring, which allows Jey to get the pin over Shinsuke. This is a big win for the Bloodline, but Jey is clearly miffed about having been denied the opportunity to shine on his own without their antics. It's also a win for me, a messy bitch who loves drama. Finally, we gotta talk about our big holy shit moment of the week. At the close of the first hour of SmackDown, Intercontinental Champion Gunther came out to smash some local talent, poor guy, and then lamented on the microphone that there's no one left on SmackDown who can challenge him. And, well, he's not wrong. The Austrian ring general has upheld the title for nearly a year and defended it regularly, both on PLE and regular TV, against the entire SmackDown midcard. But Gunther's promo is interrupted by some familiar music. That of 14-time world champion Randy Orton. This was an astonishing return because Randy Orton's back injury was expected to keep him out of action for another 8 to 10 months. I don't have an explanation for you on this one. It could be that Randy Orton's injuries weren't as severe as they were originally reported. I mean, we've seen plenty of legends come back after supposedly career-ending injuries. Daniel Bryan, Saraya. Hell, Edge was never supposed to return after he was forced to retire 9 years before he finally came back at the 22 Royal Rumble. There's always the possibility that we were just worked and that Randy Orton's injuries were never as bad as reported so that we'd get a bigger pop when he comes back. Your guess is as good as mine for now. If I learn anything, you'll be the first to know. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, leave me your thoughts in the comments. Fucking call me a dipshit, I don't care, engagement's engagement. What a way to kick off a new season on the channel. It feels like, there's so much exciting things happening right now in the world of wrestling, and for the first time in a long time, it feels like anything's possible. That's impossible. That's impossible. Hey everyone, I'm Dylan Roth, creator of Future Endeavors. Sorry for breaking kayfabe here. I don't plan on appearing out of character very often in these videos, but I thought I should pop in at least just this once to explain, like, what the fuck you just watched. What even is Future Endeavors? Is it a fan fiction? Is it a parody of wrestling YouTube? Is it a WWE 2K e-fed? Is it some kind of SCP-style horror story? Yeah, it's basically all those things. Future Endeavors is the story of a wrestling YouTuber whose life gradually unravels as the line between reality and the fictional events of pro wrestling becomes impossibly blurry. As you've probably already put together, it's set in an alternate timeline that branches off from our own the morning after WrestleMania 39, which is about a year ago. I've plotted out a year-long story that I expect to unfold in just about real time. I'm planning to publish about one episode a month here on YouTube, plus 1 or 2 bonus chapters in between exclusively on my Patreon, which I share with my podcast partner, Dalton Deshane. If your name is on this list that's scrolling here, you've already got access to the first bonus episode, which is the NXT recap from the first week of the new timeline. If this video has piqued your interest and you want to see more of it, please subscribe to this feed and consider checking out the Are You Afraid of Dylan and Dalton Patreon. There, for $5 a month, you can access bonus episodes of Future Endeavors, a monthly podcast where Dalton and I talk about horror movies, weekly written movie reviews from me, and access to our Discord, which is the most warm and welcoming community of creative weirdos on the internet. We're also launching a new discounted subscription that includes just the Future Endeavors bonus content for only $3 a month. And finally, if you're interested in weird storytelling experiments in general, check out our podcast, Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe, where Dalton and I have been writing and performing an entire MCU-sized saga based on the crappy 2017 remake of The Mummy. It's a lot better than it sounds. Not The Mummy. The Mummy sucks ass. Our story's pretty cool. Thanks for watching, everyone. Quentin Reese will be back in a month with a review and recap of Night of Champions. Later.